Thank you. Thanks, Tracy, for having us here. I've got 20 minutes. This presentation normally takes 2 hours. So I know I'm the last speaker before lunch, so I'm actually going to set alarm because I don't want a mutiny on my hands. But 12:30. Oh, awesome. You're going to get more. I'm still going to do it. So, like I said, this is on the... So it's just forward. The changes to the Work Health and Safety Act that Naomi and Paul both touched on. I'm going to delve a little bit deeper into the implications and the actual changes that have occurred. It is really wide-ranging. It's going to affect pretty much every business in WA, and to different degrees. Certain industries are going to be hit harder by it. There's going to be more change required, where others are probably doing the right thing anyway, but their individuals may need to step up. Generally start this with that and let people sink in a little bit. So this statistic is from Safe Work Australia, and it's been pretty consistent for the last 15 years that a person dies in an Australian workplace every second day of the week. We're not a third world country. This should not be happening. This is, from my perspective, this is my why for our business. Sorry, I know I've been exposed to a couple of these personally as well. And then we've also got the medical treatment injuries on every 5 minutes. And that's probably really conservative, because I'm sure a lot of you would understand there's a hell of a lot of incidents that occur that never get reported. With the fatality rate, that's also not taking into effect road trauma unless they're a commercial driver. So truck driver, bus driver, captured in that. But if you go down to the shop to buy lunch for a group of guys involved in fatality, it's not captured in that either. So that's also probably a little bit understated. So a little bit about us. Me personally, I was in the police force for 12, 13 years. I did 7 in uniform and another 5 as a detective. I then left policing and went to WorkSafe. Don't hold that against me. I did another 3 years there, and then did further study in safety and started my own safety consultancy. So clearly from career choices, I don't need friends. Going from one to the other, one bad to worse. We've grown in the last, we've now been operating for 12 years. We're now a group of 13 consultants. We're looking for more. We work all over the state. We don't target a specific industry. Nor do we target, business size. So we work from really small. We've got an electrical contractor on our books. He's got 2 staff, through to we work for Woodside and Rio and things like that as well. So it's a real mixed bag. But I guess the advantage that we have in that is we can see things in that real high level safety management and bring it into small business and vice versa. So we can get things that work in those industries and try and assist these smaller, medium-sized businesses who really need the help, because they're the ones that have the stats, and they're also the ones that normally don't have the need, the want, or the money to employ a full-time safety resource, and that's where we sort of fill that gap. So the main changes is, as both these two have touched on, is the primary duty of care. So I'll expand on all of these as we go through. Role of WorkSafe, or the regulator, enforcement and compliance, and also the penalties. The penalties have gone up 6-fold. You touched on that fatality that occurred in Welshpool. So we do some work for a couple of safety law firms. I was personally involved in that event in that I did an independent investigation into that one. The penalty level that organisation received was, they were very lucky. It's still before the court. There's a second party involved in that one, so I've got to be careful what I say. But the law firm representing the company that has put their hand up and it's been dealt with by a court, they were being provided with advice to expect a penalty 3 times what they were given. So they were really lucky that unlucky the event occurred, lucky when it occurred, in that it occurred before the change of this legislation. There's a slide on the new penalty, so you'll see what I'm sort of talking about there. As Naomi touched on, the way in which we consult and communicate with not only our own employees but others as well now needs to be greatly expanded. So too to the way in which we need to manage risk and hazards in our workplaces. So, the primary duty of care, everyone's probably heard about this, we all hold a duty of care. Historically in WA, under the OSH regime, that duty was borne by an employer. So an employer had a duty of care over an employee. It's fairly simplistic, pretty cut and dry. And there was a deeming provision in the Act that captured subcontractors. So it said, if I subcontract out some work to you to do a task, you pay your own taxes, your super, your insurances, supply your own tools and equipment, but I have the same duty of care over you as if you're a direct employee from a health and safety perspective. Then there was the employee, so employees had a duty of care as well over themselves and others. Forget all that. So the new primary duty is borne by any person conducting a business or undertaking. So we'll say PCBU, so I have to say that 50 times. So you notice I've underlined or. So it's a business or an undertaking. So it does not necessarily have to be for profit or gain. So there are now going to be other organisations that are going to be captured under work health and safety laws that historically didn't because they didn't have employees. So think church groups, think sporting clubs, think volunteer organisations. If they have a paid person, they are then captured under this new regime. One paid person. So my young bloke plays footy. The club pays someone to man the canteen on a Saturday morning because no one wants to volunteer in the canteen. They'll volunteer to be first aider, runner, because they get to see the kids play sport as opposed to standing in front of a chip fryer all morning. So they pay that person. So therefore, under this new regime, the whole club is captured under work health and safety laws. So it's casting a lot wider net. A person can be me as an individual. It can be two people as a partnership. We are a person. It can be a group of people, as in a board or a management committee. They are a person. But under this law, so too is an entity. So ABC Proprietary Limited is also a person. So we could potentially have a workplace where there are multiple PCBUs at the same workplace at a single time. So think shopping centre, think construction sites, think wherever your guys potentially are driving to and from. We could have multiple duty holders over the same workplace. And again, it's whether you're employed, self-employed or an individual. So we then, as I said, historically is employer over employee. It is now PCBU over a worker. So it's irrelevant as to whether you employ that person or whether you subcontract that person directly. They simply have to be at the place to which you are conducting your business or undertaking, or you have an element of control over that area, and they are working there. And they've added this little bit at the bottom that says and others. So historically, we've had there's some small regulation that captured others, but now under the primary duty of care, we have a duty of care over others. So it doesn't have to be even a worker. Joe Blow public that walks into the place to which you have an element of control are captured under this new work health and safety regime. You've always had a civil duty of care. So old dear walks into your workshop, slips over someone's tool bag, breaks their hip. Absolutely, you've got a civil duty over that person. They can sue you for pain, suffering, medical expenses and the like. Under this new system, you have a criminal duty of care over that individual as well. Which brings me to, I was talking to Rick earlier about this, in that insurance coverage as well has changed with regards to this legislation. So there used to be a policy, was it directors' insurances?
Yeah,
managing directors. Yep, where you were protected, or you could insure against a penalty imposed by a court for a breach under OSH. It's now legislated that that policy cannot exist. So any penalty imposed under work health and safety laws can no longer be insured against. You can insure against the cost of a defence, but not the penalty. So, business or undertaking, as I said, it's a wider definition of just employment previously. So it's whether alone or in concert, whether commercial, nature, government. So this is an interesting one. The Model Draft Acts actually had a minister being a PCBU. So the minister of a government department was going to be a PCBU. Interestingly, when this passed, that disappeared. So an elected member is no longer going to be a PCBU. However, they're deemed an officer, which is another slide. So they still will have a duty of care, but their department will, and so too. So for instance, Department of Finance, under Department of Finance in Building Management and Works, which project manage construction projects like hospitals, schools, etc., who engage a builder, who engage subcontractors, all PCBUs. So this is, like I said, it's really casting a wider net. Whether or not for profit or gain, so we've touched on volunteer groups, but it's also where workers are directed. So it's for situations where it may not be your workplace, but you are sending your worker there to do a task. You then still have that duty care over that workplace as well. So there's a dual onus at that workplace. So companies like, anyone working labour hire? Yep, so labour hire companies, groups that, for loss of a better word, distribute workers or apprentices, TAFEs. There was someone here from a TAFE I chatted to earlier, where even schools, where they're sending kids out on work experience. We work with a number of schools, and a lot of schools are now saying they're struggling to find work, since this has come into play, they are struggling to find workplaces willing to take on kids for work experience. Because they're now, and the kids are an other, they hold a criminal duty of care, and we all know we're all 16, 17, 6 foot tall and bulletproof at one stage, and we did dumb things, and that's when these kids get hurt. And so that business, that host employer who's just trying to do the righty to give kids some experience, takes on that duty of care, which historically, again, wasn't really captured apart from the civil duty. So, can I get a show of hands of who's a business owner? Or who is a general manager? Or on a board? Or has a decision-making ability within an organisation, either physically or financially? So I've probably captured most people in the room in some way in that. So if you put your hand up to that, you, under this Act, are deemed an officer. So officers have an additional individual duty of care under work health and safety laws. When I said financial, so for instance, again, we probably need some case law on this to get a real good line in the sand, but a CFO would most definitely be deemed as an officer from a financial decision-making ability. An internal accountant, potentially as well. Bookkeeper, probably not. So this is where we need a test case to have that formal line in the sand. So an officer needs to do what a reasonable person in a similar situation would do to keep up to date with work health and safety laws. That is not saying an officer needs to go out and get a postgrad degree or postgrad cert in workplace health and safety. It's not even saying you need to go and get a cert for, but you need to be doing something regularly and proactively to keep up to date with law or the changes. How can you do that? This, great way, it's tick in the box. You've got a variety of different speakers giving you information on the changes and what you can do to manage hazards in your workplace. There is a subscription page that WorkSafe put out called Safety Line. You can go to the WorkSafe website and subscribe. It doesn't inundate you with spam. You're not going to get tens and thousands of emails. I think it's, from memory, it's the last Friday of each month you get an email which is from the regulator. This is what we've done over the last month. These couple of organisations have had prosecutions brought against them, and this is why. Here is some information on a proactive campaign that our inspector is going to be doing over the next quarter. We're going to visit farms. Anyone in farming? No, because there's a new campaign coming on farming at the moment.
Sorry, what was that called again?
Safety line.
Safety line.
It'll give you topical information. So there's been a spate of forklifts that have rollen over. Right, so here's some information from the regulator who police this, how you manage your forklifts in your workplaces, what pre-start you're supposed to be doing, what sort of maintenance checks are supposed to be done, what sort of competencies your operators need to hold. So they're giving you the information. From my experience when I was at WorkSafe, most of the inspectors are there for the right reason. They don't want to be walking around wielding the big stick, but sometimes they have to. So they give you this information, so use it up, take it. Codes of practice are another one. Codes are your friends. So legislation is written by lawyers for lawyers. Most people will pick it up and say, what this says. Can't understand it. A code turns that into normal person speak. So you or I can pick it up and say, okay, so this is what they mean here. This is what we need to do. So that's another way to tick that due diligence perspective. Critically, keep up to date with the hazards at your workplace. Know what is going to bite, burn, sting, maim, affect people from a psychological perspective. So know those hazards and then have processes or systems in place so that you can manage them, or put some form of control in place to lessen the consequence of those hazards, or ideally eliminate them. But yes, we know things, you work in a hazardous industry. So sometimes they can't be eliminated, but they can be managed, and the consequence can therefore be lessened. Dreamworld. Everyone remember the multi-fatality event that occurred in Dreamworld? Perfect example. The board got prosecuted under this clause, because Queensland have had this piece of legislation for over 10 years. I think 2010 or 2011 when they took it on board. So we can get some information from what's happened in that jurisdiction. Because it's a different jurisdiction, we can't even use the case law, but we've got a pretty good idea of how it's going to be enforced. But Dream was a perfect example. Knew there was a hazard, failed to act upon it. All these people lining up paying their $50 to go on this ride, they had advice to not operate the ride, and they continued to, and we all know what happened. So that's gross negligence every day of the week. So, incident notifications. The type of incident has also somewhat been changed as what's required to be notified to the regulator. Under OSH, it was quite cut and dry. It was very black and white. Fracture of any bone other than that of the hand, of the feet, loss of a sight, loss of an eye, any amputation, certain prescribed illnesses. Just on amputations, if this is a legitimate case where if something is amputated and managed to get sewn back on, it is still reportable as an amputation. So we had a business that failed to notify. The person lost a finger. Oh, but it got sewed back on, so it's not amputated. Still reportable. So, under the new regime, fatality, obviously, we've got dead guy. We need to report this. It's a bit hard not to. Serious injury and serious illnesses. So if you think all of the previous prescribed incidents that were notifiable, serious. It's sort of carried forward. There was one which was a 10-day rule. So if a person was injured or sustained an illness as a part of the work and was off for 10 or more consecutive days, it then became reportable. Very easy to manipulate. And there was all sorts of businesses that were manipulating. It sounds like a lot of, I'm very anti statistics from safety in arrears because they're too easy to play with. So you've rolled an ankle. It's not a prescribed event but doctors said you're off for 2-3 weeks because you need to stand on your foot. So I come in as an employer, look, here's some training packages on our laptop. read them for an hour a day. Guess what? You're back at work. 10 days resets. Same, exactly the same as what mining and oil and gas companies do with these interesting statistics that they publish. The other one, so the 10-day rule is still there, but it is 10 days back to work for what person is trained, qualified or employed to do. So if they go back on light duties, restricted duties, and they still hit that 10-day, then it's still captured. Oh, there's my time. Dangerous incident. So this is also something that's quite new for WA. So this is capturing near misses that don't result in injury or illness. So again, historically, if it wasn't under the prescribed illness or incident, didn't have to be reported. And again, there's so many events that have occurred that could have been a fatality or were nearly a fatality, but because they weren't or didn't result in injury, didn't get reported. So under this new regime, they need to be reported. They have tried to define dangerous under the legislation, but it's very grey. For example, any electric shock, whether or not it results in injury. Electrical contractors are getting zaps all the time. Under the new regime, they all need to be reported. Historically, they all used to be as well, they don't. A rolled forklift, a dropped load, something falls off the side of a truck. The interpretation of dangerous is going to be different to every one of us sitting at the table. Because of my background, my experience, I might look at something and think, yeah, sort of dangerous. You might look at it and say, look, it happens every day of the week. Naomi might look at it and think, really? You know, it's really, really grey. There was some escape, I'm trying to think of the wording, escape of pressurised water, escape of pressurised gas, uncontrolled escape of pressure. So you put an excavation bucket through a water pipe, main water court pipe. It's Busselton water down here, isn't it? Or you water court? Aquest. Gas pipe. Put a bucket through a gas pipe. Again, historically, that happened all the time and was never reported. Under this new regime, the PCBU is going to be responsible for reporting that. And remember that there could be multiple PCBUs at the same workplace. So there could be multiple reports for the same event. And there's penalties that will apply for failing to report. So these historical events that may have been hidden, we're not going to report that one because we might get in the shed. There might be another PCB at the workplace that reports it. As I said, they leave the best slide to last. So this is the new penalty rates that are applied. So these are maximum penalties. So no one ever gets a maximum penalty in WA law. That hasn't happened since we stopped hanging people. Doesn't get much more maximum than that. But even if, for instance, they took a third off for a first offence and the court says, look, we're going to take another third off for an early plea of guilt, still a third of some of these penalty levels are massive. They're massive fines. So they've gone up sixfold for what they previously were. Yeah, yeah. So industrial manslaughter has attracted 10 million and up to 20 years inside. That one, industrial manslaughter, there's been a lot of talk in the news about it. It's attracted a lot of attention. It's passed, and it's one of the most stringent of all the industrial manslaughters across all the states that we've got now in WA. Cat 1 is where the prosecution can prove gross negligence. So if it was grossly negligent, that a person, there was a risk of serious injury or death, so you don't even have to kill anybody. It's the risk of and the proof of gross negligence, Cat 1. Cat 2 is the risk of serious injury or death or harm, but without the element of gross negligence. So everyone got their head around gross negligence. I don't really want to go too much over. Gross negligence is along the lines where it's almost deliberate, or it's through through training, skills, qualifications that you should know better, and that you allowed something to occur, and as a result an injury happened. Gross, the electrical contractor that gets his apprentice to stick a screwdriver in a live GPO. We all know electricity kills, but by qualification and training, the electrical worker should know even better. Likewise, chain of responsibility, loading, unloading, etc. The other one for gross negligence is where you've had multiple incidents. So we've had an injury, we've had another injury, we've had another injury, we've done nothing about it. The fourth injury results in a serious one, arguably or questionably grossly negligent. Or where WorkSafe have taken some form of enforcement against an organisation. Here's your improvement notice for not having a trained loader operator. Guess what? We come back next week. Here's your second one. Here's your third one. Then you have an event where a loader rolls, hits someone, whatever. That could also be questionable as for gross negligence. You knew there was a hazard, you were reminded multiple times, and you failed to do anything about it. And obviously, as you can see, the step up is huge. Cat 3 is just a normal breach, any breach of the Act or the regs. So, what do you need to do? Critically is know the hazards that workers and others are exposed to. What is going to bite, sting, burn, maim? For those old enough to remember, WorkSafe used to have an ad out. I think Glenn Jakovich was on it, and they had this little yellow. Think Safe Sam. Yeah. It was an emoji before emojis were a thing. It's just his yellow head. SAM stood for spot the hazard, assess the risk, and manage it. The whole principles of work health and safety are around that. The whole principles of the international standard for risk management is around WorkSafe SAM. Know what's there, have something in place to assess it. So is this, as you had a matrix up there, is this a high risk? Is it medium? Is it low? And the higher risk is obviously the one that you need to give priority and attention to. And the higher risk, the higher level of management or control that needs to be put into place. Identify who your officers are and be able to verify due diligence. Know where others are going to be. People do dumb things. The general public, I hate saying this, but because of my history, in working history in particular, people are stupid. Ask any painter. Ask any painter who's painted a wall and put a wet paint sign on it. Guarantee you, so is it really wet? Construction companies are up against this all the time, where they're working in live environments and they put barricading up or hoarding up in a shopping centre. And because I need to get to my cafe, I don't want to go around the mall. I can cut through, so I will. I'll step over that all the time. So consider where others are and where they shouldn't be, and how you're going to prevent them from getting to those working areas, wherever it might be, in your yard, in your workshop, in your office, whatever. I hate to say it, documentation is going to need to lift with the result of this Act. The old analogy of if it's not a bit of paper, it didn't happen, is very, very true, the way courts work. So everything with regards to training, with regards to risk assessing, document it. It doesn't mean, I'm not saying you all need to have safety management systems like Rio Tinto that are this high and you can't jump over, but something is better than nothing. So document what you do, document why you make these decisions. It could simply be in a diary, but keep the paperwork up to date. As you touched on, train staff, be able to verify competence. So again, it's not just a case of having this ticket that says I'm allowed to drive this forklift. Are they competent to do it? I'm sure you all drive normal domestic vehicles and you see stuff on the road all the time and you shake your head at. Most of the time, I won't say all, but most of the time, the person who's done whatever that is has got that bit of plastic that says I'm licensed to drive. Doesn't mean they're competent. Consult with all workers. So consultation is now not just consult. When I say consulting, talk about the hazards in the workplace, how we manage things here, inductions, that sort of thing. It's not just looking at your employees, it's all workers, because you have that duty over all workers now. Emergency plans and processes as well. So things do go wrong incidents occur, but we need to have systems and processes in place to stop that event from getting worse, or preventative measures so that we know how to respond if something does go pear-shaped. And again, then monitor all of the above. So there's no point putting controls into place if they're going to introduce an additional hazard, if that makes sense. So this is a bugbear of mine, is hard hats. You see the traffic control guys on the side of the road on a main highway halfway between here and Albany, and there's roadworks going on. The guy's use stop go sign, and he's wearing a hard hat. What is going to hit him on the head? Low flying duck, yeah.
I actually had
Seriously.
I had a safety spec one day that I asked that question to.
Yeah.
Because we were working, this was years ago when I was in traffic control, and we were working down the BHP rail access line between Port Hedland and Newman. And I said it's 46 degrees outside. Why are we wearing hard hats? And I was told a bird of prey may pick up a snake and drop it on you as it flies.
See,
that was a safety spec.
so that sort of thing, that it really bugs me. It makes safety people look like a bunch of, you know what? We're not all like that. It really annoys me because it's lazy safety. It's so the project manager or the safety guy who's sitting in his car, his office, can say, oh, he hasn't got his hard hat on, I'm going to pick on him today. Look at the hazards. Put a control in place, but come back and remeasure it. So hard hats, yeah, all right, they do stop things to a degree from hitting you on the head. The increase in whiplash injuries because of people wearing hard hats is also huge, because you've got this thing on your head that's 1.5 inches above your normal head. You know where the top of your head is. You know that through trial and error because you've cracked it. Everyone's cracked their head on something. Put a hard hat on, you don't know where the top of your head is. And you hit your hard hat, and people get whiplash injuries from whacking their head wearing a hard hat. In particular, things like taller guys on scaffolds, the beams going across. But the introduction of heat stroke as a result of, as you mentioned, wearing a hard hat, it heats your head up really quickly. So you've introduced a control that has therefore brought a new hazard into the equation that you may not have considered. So that's saying, us reassess what you're putting in place to make sure they are effective. So, Elle, any questions?
I have got one. So, I mean, I know that there's putting control measures in as far as practical has always been there.
Yep.
I'll use fuel as an example. So, in the regulations and in part 10 of the code, when doing a transfer, you must, as far as reasonably practical, stop any vehicle from destroying connections and hose assemblies. So the drivers get given the WHS hats, they get given their tiger poles on the sides of their tankers, they set up that exclusion zone around their hoses. Now, if some numpty drives over that, gets blown up by the fuel line because they should have driven through there, does that come back on the driver at all if he's, as far as reasonably practical, set up that exclusion
Look,
zone?
if they've done everything that is reasonable and practical to do, so in line with the code, for instance, then I'd be suggesting no.
Right, and that's what I want to check, because I know that this upstep of law has kicked in, but there still has to be that reasonably practical.
The big one in that scenario, I feel, is not necessarily in driving in that sense, but others, in particular on foot, walking into your workplace. Others, visitors in your office, people that have got, you might have a delivery to your office, no one's in the office, so I'm just going to walk straight back out in the workshop. And there's more hazardous things going on in the workshop, and then something happens to that person then I'll be saying, What we have seen in Queensland, so we've got a couple of clients that are cross jurisdictions, is in areas where the public are there en masse or regular, is barricading and means to prevent people from entering that workplace is needed to lift. A couple of WHS hats is not adequate anymore. There's got to be a physical barrier that person has to remove, climb under, climb over, in order to provide adequate protection, or the use of spotters. So that's often easier. No, P-Brain, you're not walking through there, come over this way. That's becoming
Well,
a
I just
lot more
asked, because I've
visible.
had the same issue I've seen with hive operators trying to lift scaffold off trucks, and they've set up
Yeah.
their exclusion zone, but the numpties in the city will walk straight under their elevated load.
Yeah, yeah.
They've got to put everything down and stop and go, mate, get out of my area, I'm trying to lift a load up
Yeah.
the train. What are you doing?
And so this is where that physical barrier comes
Yeah.
into play. So, a bit of flagging, bit of rope with some flags on it, probably not adequate enough to really say, have I done everything that's reasonably practical to prevent Joe Blow public from walking in there? Where if it's a physical barrier that they've had to move, shift, climb over, then, yeah, fair argument, as in... And the precursor to just about every reg is where reasonable and practical as well. So that still has to be factored in. Yep. Unfortunately, I can't hang around for the rest of the event. I've got another one to get to. I've left some brochures up there. It's got all our phone numbers and emails. As I mentioned, we do a lot of work with a couple of safety law firms. Generally speaking, that's reactive. So something's already turned to poo. We don't charge for phone calls or emails. Use us up. We'd much rather give free advice, give you a bit of information, see what you can do and try and help you out as best we can without sending people an invoice. Obviously, if it's built as a safety management system, clearly we have to, than have you ring us up and say, hey, you mentioned that safety lawyer, you got his number, because it's just turned to poo here, because I can guarantee the safety lawyers charge about 8 times what we charge. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Bob.